there a scenario where you envision taking a quarterback at number 6 and adding him to the mix and perhaps expecting him to be your opening day starter?
There is a scenario, yes. We'll see how it falls, and we'll look at the pros and cons of it, and we'll make that decision. But there is a scenario, yes.
Who do you like best?
Roger Staubach.
Thanks, Todd.
Oh, he's cracking one-liners. If you don't laugh, you might want to cry, John. This is Loud Mouths. I'm Marc Malusis. He is John Hein.
And Moose, we've got an empty chair here for some reason. How about we fill it with our good friend, Mr. Willie Cologne?
Yeah.
Willie, you want to join us for a second?
Come on in, Willie.
There's the man.
There
you welcome.
Look at you guys.
Oh, Willie. Always a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Have you ever seen Todd Bowles more relaxed than that? I mean, he was
Very
enjoying
relaxed.
himself.
Exactly.
All right, we'll get to if we'll ever see the Mets Big Five together in the same rotation, and if Willie can make it through this.
Right.
Yeah. But we'll start off with the starting lineup presented by Citi. Todd Bowles met the media at the owners' meetings today. The head coach had to deal with a lot of craziness inside the Jet locker room last season. But when asked about players' tardiness to meetings, here is what he had to say.
You don't always have tardiness with players. It's part of it. Sometimes you're late for work. It's not life-threatening. You know, those guys after that were sharp and they were fine, and we didn't have a problem with them after that. Sometimes your alarm clock's not going to go off. That's not going to be the be-all, end-all football. Make me, well, I don't have any hair to pull out, but at the same time, it's part of it.
Yeah, guys, I mean, that stuff can fly if you're coming off a season where you're one game away from making the playoffs. When you're coming off of a 5-11 season and all eyes are on you, the head coach, that craziness needs to go away, or in my opinion, you won't have a locker room to take control of anymore.
Yeah, the issue he's talking about is it's not just about every guy. It was one guy. And when you talk about things, it became a thing with one or two guys, and that was the problem. When you want to enforce a law and you let things keep, kind of sliding up underneath the rug, guys see it, and it sets a bad culture. So that's the issue. You just want to make sure. I mean, I've been late. A lot of guys have been late. There's nothing wrong with being a one-time thing. When it's a multiple-time thing, then you have to worry.
Right, but is that the right message you want to hear from the head coach coming off a 5-11 season, where you saw a team go out there and get thoroughly throttled late in the season, aside from the Bills game, right? Where you saw the team at times, you didn't see the great effort and great passion. It didn't look like this Jet team really cared all that much about the effort they were putting on the field. And then you have the head coach out there at the meetings basically saying, well, yeah, you know what, guys are late. I know it's not life-threatening, Willie, but you're watching a team that basically last year at times played like they didn't care.
Well, one of the issues, they didn't have any leaders in the locker room. So when you don't have a guy kind of keeping everybody accountable, that's tough on a head coach. A head coach has a lot of things to command from, not only from his teammates, but also trying to run a ship. So they're going to have to find some leaders in that locker room, and they're going to have to set a culture where it's just not acceptable. Especially if Belichick's not doing it, you shouldn't be doing it.
See, I think, guys, going into that season, the expectations were very high, but they had that murderous schedule. Those first 6 games were killer. Right. Injuries took place, and then the next thing you know, everybody's pointing fingers. And I think that's when a coach needs to really take control and maybe sometimes make an example of somebody in a meeting.
I'm all for examples. Listen, in the olden times, they would cut a guy's head off. Cut a guy's head off in front of the villagers, you have order.
But there's still a place for that. I mean, there is still a place for going out there and holding guys accountable like Bill Parcells did. I mean, Todd Bowles went out there, he played safety for Joe Gibbs down with the Washington Redskins. I mean, there is a case where he understands what discipline is. He's got to go out there and hold these guys more accountable, and that's the overarching issue when you look at it, Willie, because if he's not going to go out there and out-scheme them, right, and you look at a defense that you expected to go out there and dominate, and they didn't. An offense that went completely sideways, and then you look at the locker room, what exactly is Todd Bowles doing as Jets head coach? That's the issue I have here moving forward. And is he really the guy to take this organization where they need to go?
I believe so, but you got to give him time to mature, kind of learn the position. He's only second year at the helm. He has to grow. He has to learn the ranks himself. Let him grow with this team. Let the team grow with him. He's going to have his time. He has to feel a sense of urgency with it, too.
But, Will, this is New York City.
It is.
Don't give you the time.
Right, but he needs it. I don't know any coach that just comes out and lights it up without a star quarterback to back him up. So it's tough.
But when that locker room stuff starts to get out, maybe it is just 1 or 2 guys, but you start thinking he's lost control of the team. As Moose said, at the second half of the year, the effort was not on the field. some really ugly losses, you got to point fingers, and the finger is going to get pointed at the head coach. Chan Gailey now gone, new offensive coordinator in there, but everybody's going to look at Todd Bowles this year, and I know there's going to be issues at quarterback, and there's going to be issues at defense.
There's a lot of issues. Yeah.
And expectations are lower, but that doesn't mean a thing. If you're in New York, you got to win, or you're not going to stay here.
And John, not just that. I mean, how does he exactly go out there and wax poetic about Darrell Revis? I mean, how? And I get you don't want to kick a guy when he's down, but he was terrible, Willie. He was awful on the field.
Listen, a lot of coaches have an emotional relationship with a guy, especially a guy like Darrell who's been there, done that. He's been on top of the game for so long. You don't want to kick a horse while he's down. He's just going through the fight with him. Darrell had a bad season. He's trying to rewrite his legacy. Hopefully he does it with a team that is a contender. But listen, Darrell time was up and they made a decision.
Listen, make me a believer then. Listen, I've been supportive of Todd Bowles, right? You look through the first 2 years. And
you loved him his first year.
I absolutely loved him his first year, right? And I'm going to give him credit. I did not want to get rid of him, right? But some of the things that Todd Bowles has to say, it makes you scratch your head. Make me believe. You believe, and you've been around the NFL. You've been in a lot of locker rooms. John and I have. Make me believe, why is Todd Bowles the right guy to turn this thing around? Because there is great cause for concern when you look at him as a head coach.
I think what's going on right now, we're all emotional about it because we all support the Jets and we want to see them win. He's always been cool, calm under pressure. He understands he has a plan. He's going to see the plan out. He's not going to listen to all the distractions, all the people that want to say they're no good. He knows his team. He's willing to go through the fight with his team. That's what coaches do. You don't get overexcited. You don't get over emotional about it. It's a progression. They're going to have to rebuild. They have to get the right guys in there and make it happen.